Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Whoa, landing an account this big will totally change my landscaping business. It's gonna mean hiring more guys and more equipment and new trucks for the new guys to drive the new equipment in. I don't know if I'm ready.
You can do this, and Ford Pro FinSimple can help. Our experts are ready to make growing pains less painful for your business with flexible financing solutions that meet the needs of your business today when you need them. Get started at fordpro.com/financing.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I've got a life coach for you today, Daniel Clark, and he is a Pivot to Thrive coach, and we'll find out what all that means. He's got a very interesting story and background, and I think he's going to be a great addition to the podcast for the audience, talking about coaching, starting your own business, and using life for you. So, Daniel, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's great to be here today. I am just thrilled to be able to spend time with your audience and with you.
Yeah. No, I love just building the podcast and having people come on, talk about their businesses and grow, and for the audience. And so really briefly tell the audience what you do, how you got there, and how you can help the audience.
Well, there's lots of different paths for all of us. You know, I'm an older adult and I'm in my 60s and I had lots of failures along the way. And I recognized that I was stuck in what I was doing for a living and finally landed at being a life coach. And I learned that I was looking for things in the wrong place. And most people are kind of doing that. And that stuckness is related to the fact that we're always doing the same thing we've always done. And of course, getting the same results. And I recognized that it was me. And in that transition, I became very aware of that I could teach what I was learning, and that's how I got started.
Yeah, I really like that. And so, talk about, basically, I think what your story resonates with a lot of people because, that's kind of the story these days is just kind of a pivot, a life pivot. And kind of talk about, the first thing is just how you respond to these pivots and, the proper mindset, because a lot of these audience, they're in unfulfilled careers, they've been let go or, something unfair happened to them. And so how do you adjust it so that you can move forward and thrive and actually do a lot better than where you were originally?
Well, thank you for bringing that up. I was relatively successful at doing some things, but I was in a career that really wasn't working for me. I was kind of inside the church, some of that kind of stuff. I've owned two businesses, and I've been fired 4 times. So it's like, oh my gosh, I've been there, right? Yeah. What I discovered is that I had to actually own my history. What that means is it starts out with, most of us want to avoid feeling pain and sorrow. We just want to work hard and get there. I'm working with a young entrepreneur, a young lady who was a professional basketball player, and she failed about age 32 because she was always being happy and healthy and bright and pushing her old stuff down, and she crashed for about 3 years. And so what I'm working with her is understanding that she has to own the fact that what happened to her has to be let go of. And so that's the most difficult part in the pivot. You just start out by owning your history and recognizing that those things are not bad nor good, they're true. And when you own them and you let go of them, it gives you the freedom to let go of that internal dialogue that we have. And that's the most difficult part. Our internal dialogue is so powerful on the inside of us. You can't push it away if it's an old one. You have to address it and let go of it. I like thinking about it this way. If you're in a hot air balloon and you let go of the sand, the balloon goes up. And so we have to let go of things before we can ever go up.
Yeah. And I was talking with another podcast guest yesterday, and he was saying, so, one thing is, so how do you deal with these, when you say let go, and then kind of the thing that I hear most commonly from guests, 5 years, 10 years later, they're like, yeah, this bad event, it was the best thing that happened. And to me, like when I hear that, first time I heard that, I was like, yeah, okay. But then when you consistently hear that over and over, don't isn't that a cliche? Or why would it be the best thing? Why would a bad event be the best thing that happened to you? Because, it derailed you from your original intention.
Oh my gosh, that is a great question. I mean, absolutely beautiful, because 95% of our behavior is unconscious. And the reason that we are in that same space is because we're not aware of what's actually happening on the inside of us. And the crisis is the result of not knowing why we're in that crisis. And so you have to kind of fillet the past. Letting go means that you own that you actually did those things. You own them, meaning that you say, yes, I did that. And that's the beginning of owning.
So you own it. The other thing is talking about, because I talked, again, bringing to this, because sometimes, like, for example, all the audiences, they're high achievers, and I kind of analogize it. So, like, for example, it's like why are you trying to achieve this? It's like, when
Right.
you see like celebrities, they get famous through a movie, or Olympic athletes, professional athletes, and then they turn to drugs, alcohol, sex, financial failures, divorce, and it's almost like they self-destruct. So it's very interesting to, hear that why. So for our entrepreneurs listening, what are some common habits or patterns that hold them back, and how can they start breaking these habits to achieve the success they deserve personally and professionally?
Another great question. One of the reasons that people crash like that is because they don't pay attention to random thoughts. You never have a random thought. And a random thought is your brain is telling you, would you please let go of this because this is holding you back? A random thought is like, I feel like I'm an imposter. No one cares about me. It's not that we want to spend time with it, but we have to address why that's there, even though that might just take 5 minutes. But if you always push down the negative language, then it will show up when you're at your weakest. So you learn, first of all, that you're in this space because you're not paying attention to something that's in the past that's holding you back. It's not hard. We don't spend a lot of time doing it. It doesn't even matter why it's there. But in a random thought, you notice it, and then you deal with the energy that's in that random thought. And that's like releasing the bag, releasing the energy in that. I can give you an analogy that may work. And every memory that we have is like the address where you live, and your brain reproduces that same memory by going to that same place. And when you have a random thought, you go to that memory, you let go of that energy in that memory. And so that's how you're letting go of the energy. It's super simple. And just simply being aware of that is part of the pivoting process. And you teach someone how to do that, right? Instead of trying to be above, you're in the moment. It's like you kind of have to be sad just a little while about you are doing these things so that you can move into this next space of being above it. But you have to be in it just a little while.
Yeah. Which brings me also to this other question, because I have this friend from college. He took his company public, and he's a billionaire, and he was telling me about these he's in this billionaire circle. He's like, there's still people that, they're like they they have over 1 billion. They can do whatever they want, and then they're still unhappy. They're like, yeah, this happened to me. Yeah, my parents just separated, or I got bullied, or I'm not the right XYZ. And it's like, why do you have everything you want, and why do you self-sabotage? What is that underlying is emotional trauma? What is that from?
Well, I don't know that I would have an answer about where it's from, but I can tell you that our brains are designed to remember the negative, not to remember the positive. So if someone's self-sabotaging, they haven't learned how to address the negative thinking. See, our culture is be positive, work hard, and that only works for a while. You're not addressing the other things that are there. It's kind of like having mud on your shoe and everyone sees it, but you don't see it.
Yeah, yeah. To follow up on that, and because everybody has skeletons in the closet, and everybody has struggles. And so you mentioned, your personal life was messy, affected. So what are some hidden tendencies to failure you discovered in yourself, and how did addressing them change your trajectory?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Well, I had to start noticing how I felt what others thought about me, because I was focused on what I thought they thought about me was more important than what I thought about myself. So I was so influenced by what I thought they thought about me, that I had to begin to really let go of that thought and really focus on what I wanted. It's called clarity of who you want to be.
Clarity Okay, interesting. Yeah. It's yeah, and then it's quite interesting because I've heard of this statement where it's like success and money will make you more, it won't solve your problems. It'll make you more of what you already are. So if you're a good person and kind person, more success and fame will will make you, you can get more. But if you're, kind of like mean or negative, or just, you're using these things to kind of try to get back, or try to like solve your wounds, then it's just going to make you even worse. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So kind of talk about social emotional intelligence as a core aspect of your coaching, and how does understanding and developing this skill impact both personal and business success?
Well, again, what's really fun about that is the fact that in my personal life, I was fired from a job, and it was about probably 60 days. I couldn't even work. I was so depressed, so sad, and was recognizing that that's why those crises are so important, because they help you realize that you're in a pattern, right? And social and emotional intelligence means that you are aware of how you feel and how the other person feels, but you're only conscious and only aware of what you're doing. You don't let what they're doing influence you. So what we lose here is that our role is to be able to influence the room based on who we are, not what we want from them. And our solid ability to be connected with ourselves brings great value, because then it's not about what you're trying to do, it's about who you are. Emotional intelligence and social emotions intelligence simply means that you recognize where they are at emotionally also, so that you know how you can move with them, but it not affect who you are.
That's very profound and insightful. I never thought of it that way, and it's quite interesting how you this so the next question I have for you is, resilience is often a key factor. Oh, the other thing is, they were saying, being fired from a job used to be very taboo. It used to be like, oh, you got fired. But now these days, it's almost like, even like, for example, when I was a kid, like parents getting divorced, that was like, but now, over 50% of families have single parents. So, and it's so moving resilience is often a key factor in overcoming life's challenges. So how do you help your clients build a resilient mindset, especially like, for example, when these things like, we mentioned, getting fired, or, getting, cheated on or divorced, spouse leaving you, business partner, walked out on you. How do you build that resilient mindset? What are practical steps?
Well, resilience really isn't born inside us. It's something we have to learn. I mean, we have it when we're 3, 4, 5, and 6 years old, but because of the system that we live in, we lose it as we get older, obviously. And resiliency comes from my willingness to look at why I was doing what I'm doing and why I believe what I believe. I have to pivot from an old belief system to a new belief system. And we are so familiar with our thoughts, we don't know that we're thinking incorrectly. So a great coach helps them see themselves accurately so they can make a healthy pivot. But the pivot is about them redirecting where they actually want to go, as opposed to where they think they want to go. So you have to do a deep dive on getting rid of the stuff that they believe to be true that isn't working.
Yeah, interesting. It's almost like needs versus wants, and
Yeah.
it's like why you want to go in a certain direction, like, follow that trail of whys. We're almost to the end of this conversation, which was really interesting. And so again, you emphasize that one's business life reflects their personal life. So how do you balance these two, and how can this balance lead to overall success?
Again, the balance between family life and entrepreneurship is so hard. And I got caught up in that as a young man. I disciplined myself, but I wasn't really spending time with my family. So that's where an understanding of the values that you have, and you do a values test about what's important to you, and you learn how to put your perspective in a place of what meets the core needs of who you are. You have to kind of evaluate who you are and what you really want deeply, because often there's a need for money, as you mentioned, but we don't recognize that all of us have a need for connection. But if we didn't learn that connection when we're small, when we're growing up years, if we don't have friends from childhood, is another way to look at it. If you don't have friends from childhood, then there's things that you don't know about how to keep lifelong friends. And that's a skill that we teach so that you can learn how to connect with and have friendships that are satisfying. And that's where life really is.
Yeah. How can people find you and, check out your work, follow you on social media, etc.?
DanielCClark.me is the best way to get a hold of me. It's my link to my calendar. My other is transformlife.net. It's transformedlife.net, and all my stuff is on there. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook under my name, Daniel C. Clark. I would love to visit with anyone. My joy is seeing someone see their life become alive because they've tried and tried and tried and haven't been successful at the joy that they're looking for. And it's small steps to get there.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Daniel for coming on and sharing his journey and his insightful responses. And be sure to give his socials a like and follow, reach out to him. And thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me, Joseph, very much. Appreciate this very much.